Hello, and welcome to this board game overview from Tantrum House. Today's video is for the game The Fox Experiment from Pandasaurus Games.
Welcome back. My name is Jonah, and with me today is my trusted board game partner in crime, Sara Meadows.
And we'd like to mention this overview video is an inside look at the new game from Pandasaurus, The Fox Experiment. It's designed by Jeff Fraser and Elizabeth Hargrave.
The Fox Experiment is a 2 to 4 player dice rolling set collection game where you're breeding foxes trying to breed the friendliest fox.
Now before we jump in, you should know that this video is sponsored by the creating company, so you won't hear us talk specifically about things that we personally liked or didn't like about the game. We'll do our best to keep our comments objective. That way you can build your own opinion and can decide if this is the right game for you.
Now this game is headed to Kickstarter, so if you're interested after watching this video, you've got to head to Kickstarter to back it, and we'll actually put a link in the comments for you. Before we get to it, you should know that we have a prototype version of the game board and the game box, so the components that you receive might look and feel a tad different. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
To set up the game, place the board out with the patrons, study cards, and science cards, and then place the tokens on the turn order track.
Give each player their player mat, a deck of pup cards, fox, meeples, and marker, and each player will also select a study card to start with.
To begin a round, foxes are placed in the market, and in turn order, players will select a female fox and a male fox, and they will also select what order to be in for the next round.
Next, players will simultaneously breed their pups using the dice provided by the parent selected and the wild die or dice found on their player mats.
After rolling, players will decide how to use their dice to get the traits they desire for their new pups. Points and bonuses are awarded based on their rolls, and bonuses may be awarded if a new pup meets the requirements of their study card.
Then, the new pups with their new traits become the parents in the next round, and the turn order is based on the selections of the players last round.
After 5 rounds, the player with the most points wins.
So here's some things that you might want to know about this game. The pups that you're breeding during the round actually become the parents for the next round. So sometimes you might have to take parents that maybe won't help you so much just to keep them from another player. Or at least that's how I play.
Yeah, I do too. So that next round, the cards that are available in the market are some of the pups that were bred the last round and some new ones that'll be available. So looking at all of those different traits, you will have to make sure though that you're not breeding siblings, so that is designated by the player colors on the cards.
That's right. There's a lot of bonus points that you can get throughout the rounds as well. Upgrading your player board, your player mat, can give you some bonus points toward the later levels. If you're breeding the friendliest pups, that'll give you some bonus points. If you're using the end game scoring, which is like the patrons, that'll give you some bonus points. There's a lot of ways that you can actually swing the game by accumulating some of those bonus points throughout the round.
Yeah, and sometimes you can just get bonus tokens. So there's tokens for going, selecting your turn order. Some of them are better than others, or there's some along with the science cards, and then the patron cards, and then there's also the science cards, which are kind of like one-time use. There's a decent stack of those that you can get in the game.
I agree. One of the things that I thought was like something that you just really shouldn't take for granted were the wild dice and the wild tokens. Because sometimes it's just really the luck of the roll that you don't get all of the symbols that you really were hoping that you'd get. But if you've got those wild dice or wild tokens that you've kind of accumulated or saved up, you can really swing things in your direction. So don't take those for granted.
Yeah, and you can find those on your player board. So there's little tokens that you'll get for getting more than one of a trait on the pups when you're rolling your dice. And you'll get a little token for that specific trait. And when you get 2 of them, you can stack them up and get the next upgraded spot on your board. And there's 4 different things you can upgrade, like getting the wild dice.
That's right. I literally appreciated the patrons because in-game scoring is one of the things that we've seen that a lot of people really appreciate about games. There's actually a lot of variability in the patrons. There's probably a stack of 8 or 10 different patrons. They're actually all double-sided, so that means you can have a lot of variability in the in-game scoring, and a lot of people appreciate that about those games.
Upgrading to get wild dice are helpful on your player boards, and one thing you can use them for is the dice have different symbols on them, and some of them are a solid, just the whole symbol, and that'll give you the next trait. Some of them are only half. So you do have to make sure that you match up with the correct symbol, but if you've got the wilds, then you got a lot of variability of where you can play them.
I agree. Anyways, thanks so much for joining us here at Tantrum House Studio 3. Like we mentioned earlier, this game's actually headed to Kickstarter. So if you're interested in it, you've got to head to Kickstarter to back it, and we'll put a link in the comments for you. If you're interested in seeing more of what we're doing here at Tantrum House, make sure you like the video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment if you like to, and we see you next time.